Hey kids, Slacker Kite here. Welcome back to the What Are We Fighting For? And today we are playing Duke Nukem 3D because we wanted to do something different. Today on the show we have two of our returning champions.
Hi, I'm Joan, and I am not looking forward to this game.
Hi, I'm TV Dinner. I enjoy analingus, long walks on the beach, and not running into sharks on said beach.
Okay, we're playing Duke Nukem because we needed a palate cleanser after playing too many NES games, and we're going to get back to the 80s.
Whoa. Alright, audience. Honesty moment. Kite was tired of 8-bit games. I do not get tired of 8-bit games. That's one of my 1,337 superpowers.
And I'm going to play on Piece of Cake because I'm going to die.
Yeah, piece of cake.
13-year-old me would kick the shit out of you.
13-year-old me would kick the shit out of me too.
Also, 13-year-old me would try to buy Joan a thing of onion rings and tell him about his feelings.
That's incredibly sweet.
13. No, don't attribute it to sweetness. It was madness. 13-year-old me was like the worst version of me ever. Other than 9-year-old me. 9-year-old me did not care to see tomorrow.
So, Duke Nukem actually kind of revolutionized the first-person shooter. It brought an actual, like, feeling to it, whereas the genre existed before this, but it kind of was soulless, as far as I recall, at least.
How do you mean?
I mean, because Duke Nukem actually has some amount of personality to it. You're not just wandering around shooting.
Character.
Yeah. It's not.
I think Doom and Wolfenstein had a lot of character in the games, but when it came to who you were, like the player, I think you're spot on with Duke Nukem.
Oh yeah. I mean, Wolfenstein was excellent just for the advances and the mechanics that it brought to the table. But as far as actual protagonists go, don't quote me on this, but I think Duke Nukem was one of the first, if not the first, FPS games that actually focused more on the protagonist than on whatever the hell you were doing. Like, it was about his character and personality.
Yeah.
And that's not to underplay like how important Doom was.
Oh no, not at all.
And just ratcheting up the scope of games. But there's a reason he's called Doom Guy. He's just some dude in a helmet.
Pretty much.
Duke Nukem was like 1989 personified. He was Muscle Beach, and he had his Ray-Bans, and like his rolled up jeans and Doc Marten boots. And this is like a good 5 or 6 years after that time period.
It's kind of like the Master Chief thing too, where like you really didn't give too much of a shit. Like if you were playing Call of Duty, like the first one or two, but then when you played Halo, you were playing this guy named Master Chief, and he was like this big badass, and you cared because you cared about him and the shit he was going through. It wasn't just some random World War II guy. So,
and that's I don't mean to speak ill of the Half-Life of the Valve, but Gordon Freeman has never like struck me as much of a character. Now, I'm not saying Duke Nukem is a good character or a role model of any kind, or I'm pretty much saying like if you wanted to show what a person should be, you'd say look at Duke Nukem, then do the opposite.
Well, here's the thing with Valve. Valve was always, to the best of my knowledge, how I interpret it was meant you were the character. Like Gordon Freeman was there and he was a person and he had some attributes, but ultimately it was the stand-in for the player. So you were meant to bring your own reactions to it, your own personality, your own dynamics to it, which works on some levels. But then when you have something like Half-Life 2, which is a favorite game of mine, by the way, it's hard when you're interacting with other characters and then not being able to have any sort of characterization yourself. So I disagree, but I also reluctantly agree on certain points of what you're saying.
And I there's something about being because Duke Nukem, you can't even really call him an anti-hero. He's kind of a schmuck.
Yeah,
like,
he's a douche.
He is like Nietzsche's fully realized Das Uber-Schmuck. Like he is the perfect schmuck.
Now, let me ask, did you guys play the original 2D Duke Nukem games?
The side scroller.
Yeah.
I did, but around the same time. Oh god, what's the name? What? Apogee.
Yeah.
Apogee also had a game called Halloween Harry, or Alien Carnage, depending on I guess time of day, what it was called. I'm not sure. But there was Duke Nukem and there's Halloween Harry, and I like Halloween Harry better. It's kind of it's hard to explain. But Duke Nukem was fighting aliens, and Halloween Harry was like fighting monsters. I think not quite. I don't know. Something about Halloween Harry spoke to me. Might have just been his name.
A secret place. Yeah, I've never played. I'll be honest, I never played any of the Duke Nukem games. I've watched people play, and the games were released before I ever owned a computer or anything like that. Like, I was a console game pretty much until like 3 or 4 years ago. So I have no personal familiarity with them aside from anything that, you know, just looking up and researching history.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that with Duke Nukem, I am only familiar, like, from the timeline perspective with the 2D games. If just because at the time I had an uncle that happened to have the 2D Duke Nukem games, and I thought those were kind of neat. Whoa.
That's why you don't just hold a rocket launcher to
I
somebody.
didn't realize I had the rocket launcher equipped.
It did say RPG.
You're not playing a role-playing game in Duke Nukem. Okay.
This isn't Duke Nukem forever.
There are no Legends of Gaia breaks when you're playing Duke Nukem.
Yeah, this means we have to start the whole goddamn level over again.
Does that mean can I make an awesome underrated game called Nukem Gears released by SquareSoft about giant robots that look like Duke Nukem?
I wish you would. Why isn't that already a thing?
I'm making a Xenogears reference to people who didn't quite catch it.
You know what was a great game? Daikatana.
I bought Xenogears.
Get out of my stream.
What?
You didn't hear what she said, did you?
No, what happened?
I can't even repeat it now.
Can I repeat what she said?
You know it was a good game. Daikatana.
Yeah, this has been a good time on What Are We Fighting For? I'm gonna leave. I'm gone.
Yeah. Daikatana, you know, John Romero did not make anyone his bitch, sad to say. Where the hell were you?
There was some. I can't remember it now. It was from It was from 3D Realms. It was the guys. It was a really, really tasteless. First-person shoot, like more tasteless than Duke Nukem. They released it right a little while after. What was the name of it? It's gonna drive me insane.
More tasteless than Duke Nukem is kind of hard to do. This is one of the games that started the whole...
They did it. Well, and the thing is, like, Duke Nukem is tasteless in a humorous, do not be this person, over-the-top satire kind of way. If you're not in on the satire, then you're just making bullcrap to make bullcrap.
This is very true. Meanwhile, you had games that actually were trying to just push boundaries for sake of pushing boundaries.
Which is fine. Like, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that, you know? Like, I see people get really offended at, like, say, Duke Nukem Forever, with you know, the women and everything else. It's like, it's a shit game, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, like, I can't get offended by it, because it's stupidity. It's meant to be just fucking dumb. Right. So it's like,
And I think Duke Nukem Forever's macho satire... I think Duke Nukem Forever's macho-ness was part of the satire.
Yeah, I mean, it was the joke. That, you know, here's a guy, and they didn't really give much of a personality to Duke Nukem, the old 2D games. It didn't happen until the 3D when Duke Nukem became this guy. They wanted to give him something to remember rather than just being some dude. Which...
Yeah, generic shooter guy.
which most of the games back then just really did have generic shooter guys. Even Doom and Quake were generic shooter guys. And here comes a game that every teenager remembers, not just because it had tits, but because it had tits.
I'm pretty sure that this game's solely responsible for raising the LGR guy. Like, I don't think he had parents. I think he just played Duke Nukem 3D. Alright.
This just...
Hold on. I think this movie's plot is going somewhere.
That's a classy name.
And I mean, that speaks volumes to the kind of what they were trying to get across with this game. This game is just ridiculously silly, and to a 13-year-old boy, this does fantastic.
Oh yeah, I would imagine. Like, I had different priorities at 13, namely trying to make it through middle school without being like fucking beat up. But it's I would imagine as a 13-year-old dude, you know, it's all about the tits or whatever.
It was and this is one of the reasons Duke Nukem Forever, I don't think it clicked, well, other than the obvious reasons,
Right.
is that the satire doesn't really ring as true these days. Because back then, like, you're playing an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie right now.
Right. And, you know, now the whole macho genre has really gone out of favor at this point. Which, I mean, they tried really hard with the Expendables and all that, but it just doesn't ring to people anymore. It doesn't have a feeling.
I kind of wish it did, because it got replaced by the... I've talked to... I know you and I have had long conversations about censorship and the idea of PG-13, but I still feel very strongly that James Bond violence is worse for people than Texas Chainsaw Massacre violence, because at least in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you see what a chainsaw does to somebody,
Right.
and it's horrifying, but at least it works towards reality. In James Bond films, he shoots some dude in the gut, and the guy's just like, ugh, and he falls over and doesn't move because he's just automatically dead. That's not how bullets work. That's not how life works. You're taking the bad physical ramifications out of violence.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the difference between RoboCop and RoboCop 2014.
I think when we saw that together, that was one of my main problems, was, like, this movie tries to make it okay, like, it tries to make murder this sort of quiet, like, almost like a generic feeling thing. Like, it's just like, it's another stage of, it's like people napping, people, like, aggressively napping. And, like, that's not what murder is. Like, yes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre has some mentally challenged dude running around wearing someone else's face, wielding a chainsaw. But if a chainsaw cut into you, that's what it do to you.
Yeah, I mean, that is... this game is very happy to make to the point of, you shoot somebody with a shotgun, there's blood. And I would rather see that than in Call of Duty, where you mow down 1 million people, and, whatever. Whatever, they just kind of go.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little sensitive to it because I've had to defend, you know, my trash movies my whole life. And yeah, they're full of the most ridiculous, surreal, odd things, but they are working towards an honesty in their entertainment that I do not feel in the PG-13 violence in modern films.
No, and I mean, it's hard to defend schmuck. You know, it's... how do you defend things that are purposely awful?
As we walk in on a snake man watching porn.
Right. See, like, I mean, I get what you're saying, Hollis, and I don't necessarily disagree. I feel like something like James Bond, though, it's, you know, it's a movie. Like, obviously, you know that if somebody got blasted away, there's gonna be, you know, gore and bloods and just all sorts of shit all over the place. So that's why it doesn't bother me as much. And it's interesting you brought up RoboCop, only because, like, I greatly prefer the first RoboCop over any of them, but just
Hell
RoboCop
yes.
only because, like, it was unabashed and presenting that violence to you. Like, look, this is some serious shit that's going on. We have to establish that it's, Detroit's pretty much a hellhole, and this is the seriousness of the situation. This is what's going on. Like, I don't have a problem with that. And it's
One of the big things about the original RoboCop was Verhoeven. He's not American. I believe he's Dutch, and he was horrified by how Americans glorified violence. So he's like, okay, then I'm going to go over the top, and I'm going to shotgun Jesus a dude. I mean, literally, like, they take apart Alex Murphy with shotguns.
Oh yeah, I mean, he gets fucking blasted away. It's looking back on it as an adult, like, it's actually pretty gruesome. But when you're a kid, you're just like, oh shit, this guy's getting blown away.
And like that, people didn't respond to it the way he thought that they would. So,
Not at all. Not at all.
Also, the first RoboCop is one of the best New Testament remakes I've ever seen, because Alex Murphy's basically Jesus.
I agree with that sentiment in regards to any new Duke Nukem game. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Hey, you're not talking about Forever yet. I'm already espousing one probably unpopular opinion.
Oh, shoot.
That was actually an effective little reveal for that dude. Red eyes coming out of nowhere.
That's problematic, though, because we're down to 1 health.
Because you got some health coming up this, huh?
Yeah, I really hope I do have some health coming up, because I think I got it all. That sucks. Oh. Oh, good. I remembered a little bit of something there. But I think, like, things like that play to, like, the sort of Looney Tunes mentality, right? Because, okay, I grew up on Looney Tunes where terrible things kind of did happen in those cartoons, and I didn't see them as a kid as terrible, but having seen them as a kid, I feel like I have a little bit more understanding for what, like, terrible kind of is, if that makes any sort of sense. Like,
I think I know what you're saying, and it also it becomes hard because I was a horror movie kid. It's hard to judge when people are like, "This is over the top." I'm like, well, I mean, no. If you jammed a candlestick through a guy's chest, that's probably what it looked like. But they're like, yeah, but they're doing that in the first place. I'm like, I don't really follow. But like I come to understand it a little more bit by bit as I get older. But since I was exposed to it, like you said, as a kid, there's a certain kind of blind spot to it. You know what I mean?
right. But I don't know. I feel like it gives you a little bit of more understanding for what, like, bad ideas really are. If that, I mean, it's hard. It's a hard principle to really expose on. Yeah, we should be showing our children murder and racist jokes because it makes them adults, which it doesn't. But at the same time,
I mean, can you say it doesn't really show them what to expect from adults, though? I mean, honestly.
Yeah. Well, like, see, my family might have been an outlier. I'm not sure, but we were always exposed to movies that were like rated R from a very young age, and my family had the idea of, look, this is what the world is, and just you may as well learn about it now while we can still answer questions and you can still learn how to cope with it, as opposed to finding out for yourself and thinking everything's Disney. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily the right way to do it, especially since we watched it like On Deadly Ground when I was like 4. But it's
Is that a Steven Seagal movie?
That's a Steven Seagal movie.
I know that because you can put Steven Seagal is in front of it, and it forms a complete sentence.
Exactly. Like
Steven Seagal is under siege.
Steven Seagal is On Deadly Ground.
Yep.
So like, I'm not saying you should expose them at such an early age, perhaps, but it's that kind of mentality that I was brought up with. Like, this is what the world is. It's not all Disney talking animal, bullshit. There is some nasty shit out there. So, this is how you learn how to cope with it. So I don't know. Like, I'm not for coddling kids, I guess, but that's just how I was raised. So I don't know.
My parents had a pretty good rule, which was, like, hey, I want to watch RoboCop. Okay, well, we're gonna watch it first, and and if you can even watch it, we're gonna have a discussion with you, beforehand. So they watched RoboCop. I can't now in my life imagine my parents watching RoboCop. Like, I don't know what they would do with it. But yeah, they had a long conversation with me about it. They're like, you're going to see this, you're going to see this, and you know, this is what this means, and you know, this is not how this works, and you know, this is a joke here that you might not get. But I mean, otherwise, you know, it was, you know, we had the golden rule: if you don't feel you should repeat it at school or in like the grocery store, don't do it.
See, shit, we didn't even get that. It was just, you know, Mom, we want to RoboCop. Oh, okay. And then she just fucking put it on. And it was like, we didn't get to talk or anything. It was just, this is what happened. And
I
is that
envy
abuse? I don't know.
Oh, I mean, like, my parents were the ones that introduced me to, like, weird stuff. Like, Monty Python Life of Brian. There's a lot of wrong in that movie. There's...
Oh, yeah, that's another movie that we watched as kids. That and Holy Grail.
Yeah, I mean, and I think at a point you have to be introduced to a bit of wrong in your life in order to be... Because, like, people who avoid everything that is wrong ever, I feel like are missing out a bit on the whole human experience. The one...
I've had instances where I've interacted with people who have grown up. This is an easy one. I'm not calling anyone out. Nothing's invalid, but Mormons. I've had chats with. Well, did you just give that person a? What's going to happen here? I don't know what's supposed to happen.
Hollis, she's not shaking it. I'm disappointed.
You wanna dance?
But you're still giving her money.
I know. She's taking all of my
Knock that off.
hundreds.
baby.
I'm not even getting beer out of it.
I was say, give her a beer.
She's right next to them. I mean, she can get them herself. She's a modern woman with, you know...
Travis, that doesn't sound like the chivalric code to me that Duke Nukem obviously follows.
Oh, hey, look. This was a timely reference. Look.
Oh my god.
Can you cue that thing out, please?
I got so pissed off. I was trying to watch the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and they preempted that with the white Bronco chase. I was so upset when I was a kid.
I did not notice because I was watching reruns. I think the reason it makes the rest of my life make a whole lot of sense. But I was the definition of a hand-me-down kid.
You wanna dance?
I got culture and media like from my cousins, my older cousins who were boys because both of I had two sisters. So like their recordings of Transformers and He-Man and GoBots were what I watched. And I thought it was so rad that I didn't have to wait for Saturday morning to watch Saturday morning cartoons. I swear we started with a point.
We're talking about violence.
Yeah, the violence dumbing down of media.
And it feels like it. There is like no. I don't think Jason Voorhees is gonna machete kill you in the middle of on a lake or anything. But there seems to be more honesty with what pain and disfigurement and murder is in the older stuff than there seems to be now.
Yeah, I think now it seems a little more like a fantasy world, which I don't know. Like if that's how you want to interpret it, that's fine. But at the same time, it doesn't seem as engaging. Like I feel like movies in the '80s, like going back to RoboCop real quick, it really hit that poignant divide between presenting a goofy, fucking shoot 'em up movie and bring on satire, like talking about corporation takeovers and the privatization of police and the shithole that America was in the 80s, etc. You know what I mean? Like they were able to present that simultaneously. This is just like, oh, here's a cop who is now a robot and has to go fight crime.
Well, and I think that's why we need games like Grand Theft Auto, because they do, even though like killing somebody in Grand Theft Auto is a matter of, somebody disappears after I shoot them long enough, it does bring a certain amount of humanity back to the idea of killing someone, because they are characters. They feel like people.
Speaking of people, pay the hookers.
Yeah, come on. She works very hard. Thank you.
Are we feeling better?
Your nursing degree, and you were bogarting the 100s.
Hey, to be fair, the economy's kind of in bad shape. You gotta do what you gotta do.
This is true. Maybe I wanted to hold on to those $100 bills. I don't know.
I was talking about the girls, not you.
Check your privilege, guys. Check your privilege.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I know I can get there. Wait.
Alright, the 47 Sephiroths I am in my head are offended at you.
I needed that. Come get some.
I'm gonna watch Slash Fiction between 20 of them and the other 27.
Shit
Well,
fire.
Really pisses me
That's what happens when you don't check your privilege.
I'm done. I'm done.
Man. Hold on. I think I had a save game somewhere further down the line. Okay, not all the way in, but at least a little bit closer. Son of a
Holy
bitch.
shit.
I needed that.
That's another interesting thing about games at the time, is that you really needed to remember to hit that save button. None of this, you know, oh, the game will save for you, it'll reload at the last
Yeah.
checkpoint.
I don't remember a lot of quick saves.
No, I do remember Fallout 2 telling me when I got to the bridge that this seems like a good place to save. On the subject of, I know we're spending a lot of time on this, like, violence in media, grown-up media and stuff. It seems weird, but at the same time, we're teaching kids, I think, better adult lessons in their media that's seem to be innocuous or almost taken as for granted. But I think are very good lessons. Up springs to mind. The movie Up, like, it's okay to get old and lose people, like, because you still have a piece of that person.
Okay, fair.
While I agree, I also feel like if we're gonna talk just strictly kids movies kids movies from the 80s are vastly fucking different from the kids movies that are coming up now. Like Up's an exception, but it's like The Land of Time, the first one, and a couple of movies like Dark Crystal and things like that. I mean, these were movies that had very, you know, dark themes. You know, they addressed death and despair and depression and all sorts of stuff. And you wouldn't see those kinds of movies being released for today's kids because they'd be too much.
Labyrinth was supposed to be a kid's movie.
Oh yeah, and it was for as far as I'm concerned. But these days it would never be released at all.
Oh, hell no.
I mean, some of the kids' movies, I definitely remember. Some of them made me cry as a small child. And, you know...
Let's talk about
we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that.
but it's I can't talk. Oh my god, it's an illustrative point. Like it was meant to be. It was meant to show you that, you know, the world is kind of a scary place, even as a kid, and it never coddled you. These movies coddle kids, which I don't think is
Where is
the
it?
right message, really, to send. You know, I don't know.
I
I don't have kids, so I can't.
I will say this. I didn't want to. The 1986 Transformers animated movie. When Optimus Prime dies, I cry bitch tears to this day.
You're not alone, I don't think, in that.
Just huge, hot tears running down my face. But look, I mean, when you look at, like, I have to take that movie now as an adult. I'm like, well, yeah, they're at war. They're these giant war machines from space that have been murdering each other for, like, eons. Like, of course, some of them are going to die.
Right, but, you know, as a small kid, but Optimus Prime!
Like, as a kid, you don't think the hero is gonna die. That goes against everything that you've known about media up to that point. Like, the hero lives, everything's fine. And then Prime dies, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, like,
That's not supposed to happen.
Face full of buckshot. Yeah, it's, it was like I said, I still to this day cry tears. I'm not ashamed to admit that. Mainly because everything I was supposed to learn from, like, I don't know, temple or church or whatever or school, like, what I was supposed to learn from, like, Jesus, I learned from Optimus Prime. Like, it was, which I think speaks volumes to the, like, the hyper-commercialization of media in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, I can talk about that for a while, too.
I'm going to say something here, and feel free to just mock the shit out of me. But, okay, Cloud Strife. He changed changed my opinion on what a protagonist could or should be, because, you know, you found out he was weak and he did mess up. And you kind of learned a little bit more about what it is to be a leader, I think, from that. But you know, as much as that, like, changed people's perceptions on what it is, well, like, because Final Fantasy VII did a lot to change what an RPG is. But at the same time, I don't know if the whole, you know, weak leader, you know, what is it to, you know, really care for people theme has really been well represented in game since then, which seems a tragedy.
I'm not quite sure about that. You've got a medikit in your inventory, you know that, right?
Oh. How do I use my inventory again?
See, I wouldn't mock you for that, because I think that's a valid point. Yeah, 7 isn't one of my favorite games, but it's as far as characterization goes, I could see that you know, makes sense to me.
I'm not gonna sit here and mock you on it either, because to me it's not. Yeah, and this is coming from a lifelong comic book fan, you know, a lifelong cartoon fan. When people absorb lessons like that from alternative media, like video games, like comic books, like B-movies or cartoons, there's this tendency to look down, and I think there's a wire cross there, because to me it feels like you should be saying, rather than saying you're getting lessons from bad media, get it from good media, what you should be saying is, what good lessons can we put in alternative media?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, not just that, but you can get lessons out of any media as long as you have that sense of literacy to really sit there and look at it and go, oh, okay, you know, this might be a piece of shit movie, but I can still learn something from it.
I was super proud. The paper I wrote to gain entry into a writing group was how Jason Voorhees represents a very Old Testament understanding of Christianity. And allow me to defend that point for a second, even though I don't have the paper in front of me. Jason Voorhees is basically a Yahweh curse, like an Old Testament biblical curse. It's like, you can do what you want, you can behave as you will, but if you do this, a monster will kill you. Like, it's a very all or nothing, you know, it's the kind of God that'll flood the world to get rid of people. Like, it's a very straight up truth and consequences, you know, kind of behavior. And you could easily make the case that Jason Voorhees maybe isn't the worst. He's certain.
Oh my god, I'd forgotten that this game does that. I'm sorry, but...
Ooh.
Rad, isn't it? But, I mean, just from y'all's limited understanding of Friday the 13th, can you really say that Jason isn't the protagonist of those movies?
Deuteragonist, maybe, I would say. But,
Yes. I am. That's going on Twitter so hard. But no, look at it like a Dirty Harry style movie. You've got this guy who was
Hail to the king, baby.
killed because of the action or inaction of this certain group of people. And his mother goes insane, understandably so because of it. And then she gets killed by the same group of people doing the same thing. Now that happens to be teenagers, you know, getting high and having premarital sex. But the point remains valid. Then these teenagers continually come back to the place where they did this to him, which is basically his home, and continue to perform those behaviors.
yeah.
It's a home invasion movie from a different perspective.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay. I'll give you that.
And notice in every movie they're like, "Hey, don't go to Blood Lake," and everyone decides, "No, I'm going to go to Blood Lake. It'll be fine," and it's never fine. Like,
You think you learned after the first time?
yeah, it's a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, hey, you know, don't go there. It's like, oh no, I think I'll be fine. Oh no, I'm not fine. I shouldn't have gone here. Like, it's like if Slacker Kite walked up to me and said, you know, hey, TV dinner, we're going up to Corpse Burn Hill. We're gonna have a picnic, maybe dance around naked like that dancer. and we're just gonna have a gay old time. I'm like, no, I'm not going to Corpse Burn Hill, because they burn corpses there. They make you a corpse, then they burn you.
But TV dinner, it's so much fun at Corpse Burn Hill.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay here and play Crystalis and not die.
You just haven't been during the spring.
Because
it's really fantastic. It really is.
no, that's when they filmed the sequel, is in the spring. Yeah, my life might be a little bit more boring, but you'll notice I use the word life.
As opposed to instantaneous death.
And I'm the fat funny one who's familiar with pop culture. I am dead before Act 2 hits.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, I might make it to facilitate some sliver of hope, because I might have some better understanding of the situation. Otherwise, I am a dead son of a bitch.
You know, I totally understand. Think Zombieland.
Mhm.
People the first ones to get.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's it, done.
You think I'm running from Jason Voorhees? Hell no.
We as the fat people that are funny, we are the first people who always die. That's just
Oh yeah.
how life is.
I'm surprised Jason's not behind me right now, like gutting me. Because he's behind Kite right now. Did you look?
No.
That was a lie, no.
That was hesitation,
Listen,
sir.
I am a known untruther.
I'm sorry. I have a tendency to ramble. My point is, I think I could, with enough with enough NyQuil and access to academic libraries, I think I could put together a solid, cogent, valid argument that could successfully compare Cloud Strife to the protagonist of Kurt Vonnegut's books as flawed